Is Parliament forcing a breathalyser into every new car in this country? Because that is what a great many people now believe, and I have had the question 3 times this month. And I want to tell you at the top, there is a real law. It is already in force. It has been since 2022. It is not a rumour, and it is not a proposal. But what it actually says is not what you have been told, and the difference between those two things is the whole of this video. So I'm going to show you the regulation itself, word for word, what it requires, what is already fitted to the car on your driveway, and the question that actually matters, which is who can ask for what any of it recorded. So here is what I will give you in the next few minutes, and there are only 2 things. The first is the 4 words in that regulation that decide whether any of the panic is true. They are in the definitions article, they take 10 seconds to read, and once you have read them, you will never be caught by that headline again. And the second is the thing that genuinely is in your car, that nobody is shouting about at all, and that will matter enormously to somebody watching this if they are ever in a serious collision. Stay for that second one. The first is the thing you have been worried about, and probably should not be. The second is the thing nobody has told you about, and probably should have. Now let me be very clear before I go a step further, because this subject brings out the worst kind of comment. I have defended drink driving cases for 15 years. I have also sat in rooms with families on the other side of one. Nobody sensible is arguing that drink driving is anything other than what it is. So this video is not about whether drink driving is wrong. It obviously is. It is about what a piece of law actually requires, as against what people are being told it requires, because those 2 things have come a very long way apart. I am Oliver Bennett. For 15 years I defended people in police stations and courtrooms across England and Wales. I am not a politician, and I have no interest in being one. What I do is read what the words actually say, which on this subject almost nobody has done, including a great many of the people shouting about it. So let us start with what is true, because quite a lot of it is. There is a regulation. Its number is 2019-2144. Article 6 says motor vehicles shall be equipped with the following advanced vehicle systems, and then it lists 7 of them. Intelligent speed assistance, driver drowsiness and attention warning, advanced driver distraction warning, emergency stop signal, reversing detection, an event data recorder, and the second one on that list is the one everybody is shouting about. Alcohol interlock installation facilitation. And it is not coming. Article 19 says it shall apply from the 6th of July 2022. That was 4 years ago. So, does that mean your new car breath tests you before it starts? Everything turns on how that phrase is defined, and the regulation defines it in its own Article 3. A standardised interface that facilitates the fitting of aftermarket alcohol interlock devices in motor vehicles. Read that again, slowly. A standardised interface. It is a socket. That is genuinely what it is. It is wiring, a connector, and an agreed standard so that a device made by one company will fit a car made by another. The law does not require a breathalyser in your car. It does not require a breathalyser in anybody's car. It requires the car to be built so that one could be fitted by somebody else later. And notice the word sitting in that definition, aftermarket. That means fitted afterwards by somebody who has decided to fit it, a court, an employer running a fleet, a haulier, a bus company. So where does the story come from? And I want to be fair here, because it is not invented out of nothing. It is compressed. Somebody reads that cars must have alcohol interlock installation facilitation. 3 words drop off the end. And what is left is that cars must have alcohol interlocks. From there, it is a very short walk to a headline. The regulation is 100 pages of type approval language. The headline is 9 words. One of those spreads and the other does not, and that is most of what has happened here. But I do not want you to come away relaxed either, because the other 6 things on that list are real, they are fitted, and most drivers have no idea they are there. Intelligent speed assistance. Your car reads the speed limit from signs or from a map and tells you when you have gone past it. And here is the part nobody reports. The same article, 2 lines further down, says it shall be possible to switch off the system. You can turn it off. It comes back on when you next start the car, but you can turn it off. Driver drowsiness and attention warning. Advanced driver distraction warning. Systems that assess, from the way you are driving and in some cars from a camera, whether you are actually paying attention. And then the seventh one, which is the one I would actually pay attention to, the event data recorder. The regulation defines it as a system with the only purpose of recording and storing critical crash-related parameters and information shortly before, during, and immediately after a collision. Note those two words, only purpose. On the face of the regulation, this is not a tracker, it does not follow you around, and it does not log where you went on Tuesday. But in the seconds around a collision, it records a great deal. Speed, whether you braked and how hard, steering input, whether the belts were fastened, whether the throttle was open, which makes it a witness. A witness with no memory problems, no loyalty to you, and no interest in how frightened you were. Now, the question in every comment section under every version of this story is the same one, so let me answer it plainly. Does this mean your car? If your car is more than a few years old, then almost certainly not. This applies to vehicles being type approved and built from that date onwards. Nobody is going to retrofit anything to a car already sitting on your drive. Nothing in this regulation reaches backwards. There is no obligation on you to have anything fitted, no inspection that will fail you for not having it, and no requirement to modify a vehicle you already own. Your existing car is exactly what it was yesterday. It is a new car rule, which is precisely why it arrives so quietly, not as a change that happens to everybody on a Tuesday, but one car at a time, as people replace what they already had, without anybody mentioning it in the showroom. Now, underneath all of this there is one fear doing most of the work, and I want to take it seriously rather than wave it away. Can the car simply refuse to let you drive? And the honest answer is that an alcohol interlock, a real one, does exactly that. You blow into it, and if you are over the threshold set on the device, the engine will not start. That is what the device is for. That is not a conspiracy theory, it is the product description. But the regulation we have just read does not fit one to your car. It fits the socket it would plug into. Whether a device is ever plugged into your particular car is a completely separate decision made by somebody else for a reason. And the people who make that decision are the obvious ones. A court, as a condition attached to somebody who has already been convicted. An employer running a fleet of vans. A haulier. A bus operator. In some countries, an insurer as a term of cover. That is a real debate and a serious one, and it is worth having. It is simply not the debate that Headline was having, which was that your own car is about to start testing you without anybody deciding anything. And now I want to show you the part of this that Britain has already been living with for years, quite happily, without anybody writing a headline about it. The black box. Telematics insurance. A device or an app that reports how you drive to the company insuring you in exchange for a cheaper premium. It knows how fast you go. It knows how hard you brake. It knows what time of night you are on the road. And every bit of that is entirely lawful because you agreed to it in return for money off, which is the point I have been circling this whole video. The route into your driving data in this country has never really been the state kicking a door in. It has been you signing something for a discount at a moment when the discount felt like the important part. And what changes when the equipment is built into every car at the factory is not that somebody is suddenly watching. It is that the thing you used to opt into is simply there, in every car, whether anyone asked you or not. So here is the question that actually matters, and it is not the one in the headline. It is not, will my car test me? It is, who can ask what my car recorded, and what do I have to give them? And I will be honest with you, that is far less settled than the technology is. The equipment arrived first, it usually does. What I can tell you is the shape of it. Data held in the car is not the same thing as a statement from you. A machine is not a witness you can cross-examine, and it is not evidence you have agreed to give. And the line that has not moved an inch is this one. Whatever the car recorded, you still do not have to sit at the roadside and explain yourself. So whose data is it? And I'm going to be straight with you rather than pretend, because this is genuinely not settled, and anybody telling you it is settled is guessing. You bought the car. The manufacturer designed the system, and in many cases holds the key to reading it. Your insurer would very much like a copy, and a court can order things produced that nobody wanted to produce. 4 parties with an interest in one set of numbers, and no clean, tested answer yet about who gets them and on what terms. Which is precisely why I think it is worth 20 minutes of your evening. Not because you can stop any of it tonight, because you cannot ask a single question about a thing you do not know is in the car. And let me show you how this actually turns up in a real case, because it is a great deal duller than the headline and a great deal more useful. Nobody is streaming anything. Nobody is sitting in a room watching you drive. The car simply holds a small amount of information about a few seconds, and it sits there. Then there is a serious collision. The car is recovered and examined. Somebody with the right equipment downloads that module. And what was a few numbers in a chip becomes a document with your speed on it. And that document will be read alongside what you said at the roadside on the night when you were shaken and trying to be helpful. Which is the entire reason I keep telling you not to narrate your evening to anybody. It was good advice when it was only your word against the officers. It is much better advice now that there is a second account in the car that does not get frightened and does not misremember. Because I want to put this in proportion. The power the police already have at the roadside is considerably bigger than anything in that regulation. They do not need your car to test you for alcohol. They have been able to test you themselves for decades, and refusing that test is its own offence. And the limit itself is in Section 11 of the Road Traffic Act. 35 micrograms of alcohol in 100 millilitres of breath, 80 milligrams in blood, 107 in urine. That is the number that decides whether you have committed an offence, not something in your dashboard. The machine at the roadside, and then the machine at the station. And now the part I think genuinely does change something, which has nothing to do with the police at all. For the whole of driving history until about 10 years ago, how you drove left no record. You went too fast on an empty road at midnight, and the only thing that knew was you. Unless somebody saw it, it did not exist. That is the thing that has quietly ended, and it did not end because of a law about breathalyzers. It ended because the equipment to record it became cheap enough to put in everything. How fast? How hard you brake? What hour of the night you are on the road? How long it has been since you last took a break? All of it now measurable, in ordinary cars, belonging to ordinary people. And measurable behaviour has a way of becoming priced behaviour. That is not a prediction about the state, it is just what has already happened everywhere else that data got cheap enough to collect. So what do you actually do with any of this? 3 things, and none of them are dramatic. 1. Know what is fitted to your own car. It is in the handbook, in the section nobody opens, and it will tell you which of those 7 systems you have and how to turn the speed one off. 2. If you are ever in a serious collision, assume the car has its own account of the last few seconds, and tell your solicitor that on day 1 rather than day 90. And 3, the one that has not changed and will not change. At the roadside, you still comply with your body and hold the line with your mouth. You give your name, your address, and your documents. You blow when you are lawfully required to, and you do not narrate your evening to anybody. And there are 2 ways people get this wrong, in opposite directions, and I have heard both of them this month. The first decides the government is putting breathalyzers in every car, gets extremely angry about it, shares the headline, and then stops listening. And because the specific thing he is angry about is not true, the moment somebody shows him the definition, he assumes the whole subject was nonsense, including the parts that were real. He had the right instinct and the wrong target. There is something in that car worth knowing about. It just was not the breathalyzer. The second does the sensible thing. He checks it, finds out it is only an interface, decides the whole story was invented, and relaxes completely. And he now believes there is nothing new in his car at all, which is not true either. The truth sits between the 2 of them, which is the least shareable place for a fact to be. Less than the headline said, considerably more than nothing. So let us put it back together. The regulation is real, and it has been enforced since 2022. What it requires on alcohol is a standardized interface, a socket, so an aftermarket device can be fitted by somebody who decides to fit one. It does not put a breathalyzer in your car. The 6 other systems on that list are real, and they are in the car. The one worth knowing about is the event data recorder, because in the seconds around a crash, it is a witness. And every bit of new equipment in that car has not moved the oldest rule there is. You still do not have to explain yourself at the side of a road. If that was useful, the pinned card at the top of the comments has the article numbers in it, so you can go and read the regulation yourself, rather than take my word for it. And subscribe, because every week I take one more of these apart in plain English. I am Oliver Bennett. Keep it calm, keep it brief, and I will see you in the next one.